Welcome to Talk to Brazil with Tom Reaoch, the business connector to business in Brazil. Welcome to Talk to Brazil, the business connection, the world's first English language internet radio program about business in Brazil and the world since 2009, and now in podcast format. I'm Tom Reaoch, an American living in Brazil for many years and known as the King of Networking, and talking from my podcast studio in Campinas, São Paulo, Brazil. Today's guest is DeLores Pressley, and she is joining us from Canton, Ohio, in the United States. DeLores is a motivational, inspirational speaker, a life coach, author, founder, and executive director of She Elevates, with the mission of creating a pathway for girls ages 8 to 14 to be confident leaders, entrepreneurs, and CEOs. DeLores was also named one of the top 50 visionary persons in 2019. But before bringing her on, I want to share a short story with our listeners. I first met DeLores Pressley in 2009 when I started Talk to Brazil on LA Talk Radio in Los Angeles. DeLores was also a host of her own radio program, which was the DeLores Pressley Show. And we had back-to-back time slots. I was just starting out as a talk show host and literally learning how to host a program. So DeLores became one of my benchmarks and a mentor, where I learned to follow the leader and follow successful people. Later, I had the pleasure and honor to interview DeLores on Talk to Brazil program on LA Talk Radio in September of 2009 and also again September 2010. So DeLores, almost 10 years later, again, an honor to say welcome and thanks for accepting our invitation. So welcome again to Talk to Brazil.
Thank you, Tom. I am so delighted to reconnect. Yes.
Well, in essence, spiritually, I don't think we've ever disconnected.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Over the years, even through LinkedIn and through keeping in touch of happy birthdays and how you are, I think we've the connection might not have been as strong, but I think it's always been there. And spiritually, it's always been there. So
you're right. You're absolutely right about that. Yes.
Thing. So what I'd like you to share with our audience, that She Elevates. You're creating a pathway for girls ages 8 to 14. What made you start that? What made you start She Elevates?
There is a quote by Chuck Palahniuk, and it says, "We all die. The goal is not to live forever, but to create something that will." And so, Tom, as I've traveled the country and world speaking and being successful, I'm like, I want to have something that will last long past DeLores Pressley. Mm-hmm. And when I was in the 5th grade, that was a very long time ago, but I had an opportunity to go and visit a company. So my parents worked in a factory. They didn't really know anything about business ownership, entrepreneurship, or any of that. Mm-hmm. But I kept that in the back of my mind, even as a little 5th grader. We got a chance to visit the Ohio Theater here in Canton, Ohio. Mm-hmm. And we went out to dinner with the owner, and I kept saying, and someday I'm going to create something like this for little girls. And subsequently, She Elevates was birthed.
So you carried that dream for a life?
I did, and I want people to know that dreams do not come with age limits. They do not.
No, I agree with you, because I had the dream. I started the radio program, which sort of seemed off the wall at the time. But back to that, I think one of the challenges for anybody is to understand that the dream is yours. It may not be somebody else's, and you have to take care of your own dream, right?
Definitely. They don't expire either, so don't throw them out. I don't want anyone feeling like I'm just too old to make it happen. Even, Tom, I wanted to be a ballerina when I was a little girl so badly, and they would not allow my mother to sign me up for ballet because they told my mother I was too fat. And so I had to take, I know, isn't that something? I had to take tap dance, and I enjoyed tap dance, but that's not what I wanted to be. Guess how old I was, Tom, when I took my first ballet lesson?
I wouldn't have any idea.
60.
Wow.
60. So I did it. So that's why I want people to know that your dreams, they don't have to die. You can do them at any age. And I didn't, obviously, I needed a lot of help being a ballerina, but I took the lessons and I learned how to do ballet.
But how did somebody tell you at that time that they thought you were overweight to be a dancer? Did it come out that way?
They told my mother
they
that.
Beat her on
no, they told my mother. So my mother knew. We went there, my best friend, who's still my best friend, by the way. We went there to sign up, both of us, for ballet. She got to do ballet, and I had to do tap. And they just told my mother I was too big. And I think that formulated me throughout life, because I finally was, just as a little girl, I'm like, no one's going to tell me what I can and cannot do. I remember high school, my guidance counselor told me I was not college material. So of course, I went to college and became an elementary school teacher. And then when I wanted to start a modeling agency, and I was a big girl, I wore a dress size 20. And I started one of the first modeling agencies in the United States for plus-size women.
I remember
because someone said, someone said, you can't do it. They're like, oh, no, they never pay you to model. And we had an agency that was very successful, and it was in Glamour, Marie Claire, and just all different companies. So yes, you can do it. You just have to focus on it and make it happen.
And I remember, I think our first interview, we were talking about the plus size. Exactly.
Yes.
At that. And we're talking 2009. And so you've been a leader. You've always been on the forefront. And I think not taking no is part of getting to yes. And
it is.
And but what happened to you is what still happens. Bullying becomes indirect. Even today, it's become more direct. They say right to your face what they think. But in the old days, I guess they used your mother as a conduit. But even in that, I think in professional life, we see that. And I also saw on your LinkedIn profile, you were a teacher for 27 years.
I was. I taught elementary school. See there, that guidance counselor who said I wasn't college material? I've helped children for so many years. And my student scores were off the roof. And, Tom, the reason my student scores were so good, when I say off the roof, I mean good, is because I taught them how to believe in themselves, how to be confident, and know that they could pass those tests, and they couldn't let those tests, take them off of what they really wanted to do.
But over these 27 years, you've seen and you've taught a lot of kids. A lot of, if you said it was elementary, they were small children, right?
They were small children, yes.
Evolution and continuity in schools. Schools have changed. People have changed. Kids have changed. Technology has made everything different. How do you feel today after 27 years, and now you're again embracing 8-year-olds to 14-year-olds?
It's interesting, because when I did retire, and I had a chance to retire early because of being on the Oprah Winfrey Show, and I retired early, so that helped me to go into what I really wanted to do as well. I'm a teacher. Once you're a teacher, you're always a teacher, but I wanted to empower women. So that gave me the opportunity to do that. So I didn't even work with children until the whole time. I didn't speak for schools. I didn't speak to children. Occasionally I would, but that just wasn't my market. But I just felt maybe about 4 years ago, DeLores, you're getting a little older. You want to do something that's going to last. It's going to make a difference in this world. And She Elevates is doing that, teaching these young girls to be confident leaders, entrepreneurs, and CEOs. And
really, you have to start young. The younger you start, I think, the more chance of success there is.
Yes, and I've gotten a little flack from people saying 8-year-olds cannot start businesses, but that is absolutely not true at all. So we've had little girls. Last year we had it at a college here in Ohio called Stark State College, and the 8-year-olds were there, and they started businesses. But now, because of COVID and our world is changing, we're going to start it online. She Elevates Academy will be online starting July 14th.
And you'll probably be able to include more people everywhere.
It has. We have people from all over the world that are registering. Our deadline is today, really, for people to apply. But it also expanded my vision because now we can train students all over the United States and world and Brazil, right? So,
no,
yes,
and that's the point, because here too in Brazil, let's say, unfortunately, when we look at the educational system, we look at the empowerment for teenagers, for young people, it's not possible even to work anymore. I remember talking about young. I started delivering newspapers when I was 8. So that was a business. It wasn't a big business, but you learned. You had to exchange something for value. You had to understand what customer satisfaction is, what the deadlines and timelines are. So that's educational. And you take that throughout life. But if you don't let children understand that, if it waits too long, I think they've grown up and grown through a more important time of their life.
Yes, that's why I love starting at age 8. And our core program, that's the academy, it's 8 to 14. But we also have a program called She Shadow. So after the girl graduates from the academy after age 14, we put her in a program called She Shadow, where she has an opportunity to shadow a CEO. She spends time with the CEO. She is mentored by that CEO up until their age 21. So they'll be in our program if they like till 21.
So at the end of 14 years of age, your hope is that they go through high school and eventually on to university. Is that sort of the plan?
Yeah, definitely to do that, and then stay in our program, the other program we have, which is called She Shadow, where they will shadow a business owner. But yes, we definitely want them to go to school, go to college. That is our plan. But our college isn't always for everyone. And some girls, entrepreneurship is not for everyone. So that's why we expanded our program to teach the girls how to be leaders and that they can run a business. So even if they don't own the business, they can run it.
And today with the technology that exists, which didn't exist 20 years ago, everybody can be a one-person show. And today, a business can be literally in the palm of your hand if you develop an app and you have something going. That's right. And there's just not enough women CEOs, especially in the United States. I think it's only like 5% or something that are women, female CEOs. So we want to change that gender gap too. Now, what needs to change to make that happen? I think people have to change their thought patterns. So many times people feel like women are not equal because we know equal pay. Women don't get the equal pay. I teach women how they need to really ask for what they want and then be quiet, because sometimes women can, there are so many statistics where men are doing the same job or not even a job that's higher, getting paid more simply because I think they ask and they believe it. And so we have to change our thought patterns of really thinking totally different, that no one's inferior to any other person. We definitely have to change our thought patterns, and not only change our thought patterns, but do some action, do something about it. So many things are going on in this world now. What have we all done to try to make a difference in the world? Right. We just can't sit back anymore. No. I don't think there's room for that. And here in Brazil, the situation is the same. Very few female CEOs, very few women in the level of directories in companies, in very similar fashion. And partly I agree with you that men tend to be favored because they're always talking to men. They're going to another man and asking for the raise and getting it. So it is a man thing. And to break that hurdle, we're in the situation more recently in Brazil. Obviously, there are groups being formed, many women. Some I've had on both of my programs talk to Brazil in my Portuguese language podcast, the same, trying to drive information, let people tell their story, their success stories, and absolutely why this is important. And I think your focus on women from the age 8 to 14, it has to start young. Because you were the example of being bullied, and many women are being bullied directly, indirectly. They're being bullied for being a woman.
Yes, that's unfortunately true. Unfortunately.
Now, how you're established as an org, right? It's a nonprofit organization. What is the makeup of She Elevate?
Yes, it's a 501c3, and it is nonprofit, so we're always needing donors, and that's a whole different world, Tom, because I've always ran my own business, owned my own company, and so it's not the same with a nonprofit. We have a board that I have to report to, even though I'm the founder, and I came up with the idea. The board literally runs the nonprofit, and we have a stellar board. And we also have what we call an advisory council that helps us with the girls. So we have many more programs, like I said, and we have a big event here that we call Confidence Cupcakes and Conversations. And I think I just like it, the alliteration from being a teacher. People are like, where did you come up with that? But we had that before, and we're hoping to have it again in September. But we just have really great conversations. We talked about bullying. And last year, one of the little girls, she said, I didn't even understand that I am the bully. And she said, after today, I will not be the bully. I will change. And that just made that whole conference worth everything. So, yes, there's bullies out there who don't even know they're bullies. And here we have a little, I think she was 11. Yeah, the girl who said that.
No, I agree with you. I think we all think we're perfect, right? I remember when I was a kid, I thought I was right. And even to today, I still think I'm right.
You are, Tom. You are.
No, until somebody comes and shows you differently. But I went back to the role model, and what I see, what I felt over my years, that role models are essential, but sometimes hard to find. And we're talking about the world today. We're talking about 2020. It's sort of tough to find somebody up there that you could say, this is the role model either for me as a person, for my family, for my kids. It unfortunately seems more confusing than it used to be. I don't know.
Yes, it may not always be direct, kind of like you said, indirectly. I was kind of like your mentor. I believe every person should have a mentor. I think they should have a coach and a sponsor. And people are probably pretty familiar with mentorship, where someone, you talk to them and they kind of give you the way to go. And a coach is a person who kind of asks you wonderful questions, come up with creative ideas, and you do the work. And a sponsor, those are most of the time in a company. So if you're working in a corporation, you want someone who's going to speak up for you when you're not around. Like I could say, you know, how amazing Tom is. So I'm kind of like his sponsor and speak up for him when he's not in there. So I think everyone should have that mentor, sponsor, coach relationship.
And I agree with you there. I've always said that the best reference you can get is when you're not near it.
Yes.
And from somebody, you never even hear it, right? Somebody tells a third person or a fourth person, you never even hear it. So that's really the best reference. And, now, amongst the young women, how do they create, what do you do to help them understand that they're part of a group? Because obviously you're taking individuals, you're putting them in a room, and each one of them has their aspirations coming from different places. How do you melt that all together?
The landscape changed a little this year. So, because normally we would be with the girls, but this year, so we are going to meet like twice a week, and the girls are going to go over everything. So the first thing we work with them really is confidence. How do you become confident? We talk to them about leadership. We show them in this particular online program, they can develop a lemonade stand, or they can write a book and become an author, or if they already have a business, then they can grow that business. So we have like 3 tracks that the girls will be on. We teach them creative thinking, sales, marketing. They develop a business plan. We have a she journal, which is kind of like a workbook, but I don't tell our girls their workbooks, but the she journal, where they can write in the journal, and there's worksheets and all kinds of things. And we have what we call a shero, like a hero, but a hero comes in and speaks to them. We're like she everything. But,
well, you got to be because they are she's. That's it. Why be anything different?
Right. So we have two people that will come one day each week, and we have people that, like, the president of a college is coming. Someone we haven't confirmed yet, but we believe the president from FedEx is going to be talking. And then we have a young girl who's like 17 who runs a cupcake business as one of our sheroes. So they get an opportunity to do all of it. And, Tom, we have this thing that we're mailing out to them. We call it the Boss Box because they're not in person, so we need to send them the things, mail it to their homes. Okay. And BOSS stands for Bringing Others Success and Significance. So we don't teach them to boss people around. We teach them to be leaders. We teach them to be leaders, but not bossing people around. That's not. And they're going to help other people. And in that box, there's so many great things in there. I mean, like they have sunglasses in there, mirrors. They have a cap for when we have graduation. They get to pitch their businesses. So, yeah, it's a lot going on in that. And then, yeah, it's a lot going on in there. And it's our first time online, but we're going to do our best to keep the girls engaged, to have fun. And they still will have to do work because running a business, you have to do work.
Today, DeLores, my business is online. What I do has been online since we met, right? But my suggestion, I think you're absolutely on the right track. Because what I say, there are 8 billion people out there in the world, right? And the world is growing and the world's connected. And one of the essential tools that I think young people really need to understand is the connectivity. And we live in a virtual environment. We've been forced into it in a different way more recently. Obviously, people like to have the personal contact, like to be the huggy kisses we say here in Brazil. That's good. That's essential. But you can never hope to reach 8 billion people. And business today, as we're saying, a cell phone with an app, a smartphone with an app is global. It's planetary. And so what the young people have to be developing is something that's going to, it could be used in Mars. People are going out to Mars. They're going out to land on the moon. So we're talking about the world, but the world's so big, there's so many people. One of the strongest things that I've received from doing my radio program, I met people all over the world that I would never have met personally. You're a person. I've never met you.
That's so true.
And say, what's the chance of Tom Reaoch meeting DeLores Pressley in Canton, Ohio? Probably close to 0. Right?
Right, slim to none.
No, and that's, you could say, no, how many friends do you have? Well, I have, how many connections? I got 10,000, but there's 8 billion people out there. And if we start counting how many women are, I don't even know, but there's probably 4 to 5. So, and they all need help. They all have opportunities. And they have to understand, I think, this is what I try to purvey, what you think about your own neighborhood, your own street, your own building, your own school. It's just a little piece of something bigger. And we need to learn to engage with other people in other places to get out of the environment that we think we're in. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but you've seen there's a whole lot to the world outside of Canton, Ohio.
Oh, yes. I'm so glad I've had the opportunity to speak all over the place, Barbados, Turks and Caicos, everywhere but Brazil, but maybe that'll happen one day.
Well, virtually that can happen. We'll be working to make that happen. And I think that once you're developing a virtual platform, an online platform, that becomes expandable. The scaling, there's no limit.
That's true.
And I think for the girls, I think that's there's no limit.
I know. As we got today a registration from Texas and from Florida and all these places, I am like, wow, look at this. It's just going to be so good. And I believe now we can sell it to schools instead of having to go there, technically, we can do it online with the school.
Right.
Or even have a franchise all over. So, yes, this is good.
But what you've done is what needed to be. You have to start, right? You have to get up and do it. And then the thing, and organizing the way you did, having success stories to tell. Again, people will follow the leader like I did, right?
I think, and so we're going through this COVID and all this, but there is good that travels with bad, and you may think that something is really bad, but if you look deep enough, there is good in it. So I've never been home this much with my husband. I mean, really. Matter of fact, we celebrated 41 years yesterday.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. But we have a chance now to spend so much more time together. And had COVID not happened, I don't even know if I would have put it on. I think I would have eventually put it online because we had planned on that, but not so soon. We wouldn't have done it. Right. So no matter what a person is going through, no matter what it is, there is something good in there. You just have to look deep and find it.
And I think that needs to be said almost every day to someone who's 8 or 14, because we've been around the block a couple times, right? And so we've seen things, we've seen the good and bad all over the place. And we know that it's not the end of the world. But for someone who's 8 years old, being impacted by all the information that's out there, it's 24/7 bad stuff, right? They can think very easily that's the end of the world. So I think part of what you're doing is that, to inspire people that there's a day after, things will be better. Monday, I was in a conference, a virtual conference from a company in Israel, and they had speakers from all over the world talking about all of the developments, all of the companies, all of the new things that are ongoing because of the pandemic. And when you wake up and you can spend 3 hours in a conference, I was amazed. The world's not stopped. No, the world is not stopped. There are people working everywhere. There's so many, the brain power that's engaged today, and we're talking 2020, I think it's amazing. I don't think it's ever happened in the world. And the sharing of information, I don't think it's ever happened this way. Sometimes we don't see it. We're seeing the bad thing. And unfortunately, every day it's a body count. That's unfortunate. But there are people out there doing good.
Yes, like you, Tom.
Well, I don't think I'm going to create a vaccine. I'm not going to come out with any medicine. But I think what we can do is what we can do, all right?
Yeah.
And I think what we can do is what you said at the beginning. We have to take a dream, take it forward, leave a legacy. I think that's important because we're not going to be here forever. But I think what you're doing is important. I think you've just taken a big step, becoming virtual, becoming online.
Yes. I'm learning a lot. And like I said, just seeing all these girls from all over the United States and possibly world. We may have one that's going to register from another country, but yes, it's just amazing. It's amazing.
Well, I want to do that. I hope, and I see that you have plans to expand, and I want to help you connect to more people here in Brazil and hopefully create opportunities here for you here, but also for women, young girls here to engage in your program. And I hope that I don't have to wait another 10 years to interview you. All right?
I hope not. No. I want to start a podcast, so maybe you'll be one of my, definitely.
Whenever.
One of the people who we interview.
But I do hope we're still here 10 years from now to talk, so that's important.
Yes. Yes.
All right? Well, DeLores, it's always fun. It's always enlightening to talk to you. Thank you for sharing your time, sharing your husband's time. So thank him. All right.
I will.
For letting you talk to us today and talk to Brazil. Okay.
It was my pleasure, Tom. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I want to, again, thank you for sharing your time with our listeners. And for our listeners, you can find more about DeLores Pressley on LinkedIn. And I'll spell her name. It's DeLores. The last name is Pressley. DeLores Pressley. And also the site for She Elevates, that's SHEELEVATES.org. So She Elevates. I'd like to thank you, our audience, and our sponsor, Focus MI Market Intelligence. Focus MI specializes in market research for the Brazilian agricultural market. More about them on their site, FOCUSMI.com. You can visit our website, talktobrazil.com, find our previous shows of Talk to Brazil, which are also available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and many others. Remember, when you talk to Tom, you talk to Brazil and the world. Goodbye, and thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to Tom Reaoch on Talk to Brazil, the business connector to Brazil.